With Arsenal being on fantastic form, every single starting player deserves a lot of credit in making it happen. And one of them players that has come in is kiwior, which means he has taken the place of Oleksandr Zinchenko permanently and has seemed to lock down that left back spot. So is there actually room for Zinchenko to get back in the team, or has the project moved past him? Let's have a look. Now first, it's good to say that my bias on the player. I've never really been a massive Zinchenko fan, even though I know how good of a quality player he is. When he first joined Arsenal, the upgrade on him compared to the other players that we had playing there at the time was evident, and Arsenal did really improve under him being in that role. Now while I do think he's a really good player, I think how he plays is a bit more important. Him being able to do that inverted system, being a very good midfielder, being able to come in and pass the ball around, but having a great technical ability helped more than necessarily him being a really good defensive player. And of course, a lot of players are always going to have weaknesses. He definitely has a weakness at defending on one-on-ones and really struggles to run back and actually get the ball. We saw this against Salah when he conceded the goal at Anfield, and it was really because they isolated him and put him in a 1v1, which he didn't want. But we knew this, and Arteta knew this. When he was signed, it was to be inverted in the middle to create a double pivot with someone like Rice there. This is so the three centre-backs can move over and sort of operate as a back three in possession, and then when we're into a back four, Zinchenko will run back as support. This was very good, specifically last season. They've given Arsenal a lot of play in transition and being able to run up the pitch quicker, giving the ball to people like the likes of Martinelli and Saka to run into the box, and this is why they scored so many goals. Not directly, but it could definitely be down to that as well. Zinchenko's also got a brilliant technical ability going forward. There's a lot of times where he got great assists with little 1-2s and great movement in and outside the box, and having another attacking player that is very good at it definitely creates more. However, with the recent addition of Kiwior, we haven't seen that. Kiwior did struggle to do that inverted role, and people didn't know if he actually fit into the team. But since we've moved Ben White to a more elevated inverted role, it's been a lot better. Because before, Ben White was still doing the overlapping system. He was overlapping with Saka and helping him against low blocks. Now he is still doing that, but we've found a way for sometimes him to invert when Odegaard will go further up the pitch, and then when Odegaard comes deeper, he overlaps. It's a bit more of a fluid system, and Ben White is always quite forward anyway, so it helps him being in that middle position. But Ben White is a brilliant passer, and it has worked very well for him. He's been able to pick out great pulls and great crosses that we saw against Brentford, but also being a very physical tackler in there, being a lot better than Zinchenko, and helping Rice and helping Odegaard with the pressing which is needed. And not only do I think on that right side the invertation makes a bit more sense, because I think Rice can cover the left side and also help down the right side to give us more pressure, and that is definitely our most dangerous side, with Saka and Odegaard preferring to be down there. I think Ben White is a lot quicker with the ball and actually makes a lot more smarter decisions. Not saying he's technically better than Zinchenko, but I think his passing makes a lot more sense to me, and I think I've seen a lot higher crossing level consistently than I did for someone like Zinchenko. And this also begs the question, on the left side you could still play Zinchenko to sort of have a bit of a change in game, to change the invertation up, who's going to actually do it. But they've actually sticked with Kiwior, and I think they might go a little bit back to Tomiyasu in some of the Champions League games, but it comes down to defensive capability. Kiwior has a really good mind of reading the game from very deep, and he's very composed on the ball, like we saw against Porto, where I thought he was amazing. This has helped Arsenal in times where the two centre-backs haven't been composed, like that game, and also other times he's very good at passing and getting himself on the ball. While because he's also a very good track and back runner, he doesn't mind him going up for the overlap to help Martinelli or Trossard, and then being able to run back to help the defence. If Zinchenko did this, he's not usually as quick enough to actually get back and cover that space, which becomes a big issue for Arsenal when they have people like Jorginho who are also not quick enough. And with Jorginho there, Arsenal are getting the same amount of control anyway that Zinchenko would have. They still have that double pivot, and Jorginho's long passing and through ball ability is obviously a lot better than someone like Zinchenko, and Zinchenko is still not the most mobile player in the world, so they are very similar. So not only with the people like Kiwior covering the defensive actions that Zinchenko can't do, when you've got the passing of Jorginho and the invertation of Ben White, you're kind of getting Zinchenko's role sort of covered by everyone on the pitch. And with this split role that everyone's had, Arsenal have been a lot better. Now, I still don't think Zinchenko is completely out of it, and Jorginho should not play every single game, because I think in some games it actually benefits us to play a striker like Gabriel Jesus. That's why I wouldn't say he's completely out of the project. But someone like Zinchenko is not really necessarily going to be needed. Even if Kiwior was to get injured, you would think Tomiyasu would come in, or the big signing will finally be fit. And I think before the season, the writing was on the wall for Zinchenko with the club signing Jurrien Timber. Now, Jurrien Timber can play on left back and right back and invert on both sides, and he's also a very solid defender. He's a bit like Ben White, but also a bit like Zinchenko, with his technical ability probably being as close to Zinchenko than Ben White, and being very good. And the fact he will be able to do it on both sides, and if you played him with someone like Ben White and you'd be able to do it on both sides, it would give Arsenal so much more dynamicism going forward and give them so many more options. And even Kiwior and Timber, who we're all excited to see, and we might see a little bit at the end of this season, it's going to be hard for him to get into the team over Kiwior, because Kiwior is playing fantastic right now, so you wouldn't take him out. It's definitely not come out of nowhere, because there has been linked to Zinchenko apparently maybe leaving in the summer. Teams like Newcastle apparently are rumoured in him, and I can understand why other teams would be rumoured in him, because he is a really good player to get you from one level to another. He did really help Arsenal elevate and gave him a different tactical system where we did improve heavily. The reason why we came second last season is down to Zinchenko, and he deserves a lot of credit. He was very good in that game, in that year. But sometimes you move past people, and sometimes you move past them very quick with the levels that Arsenal have been going up in the last few years. And I think Arsenal may have got to that level where we've gone past Zinchenko, and before we actually signed Zinchenko, we wanted to sign Lisandro Martinez, the guy that obviously went to Manchester United. And now at the time, a lot of people were very confused about this because they don't seem like very similar players, but Martinez can play as a left back and can invert. He is a centre back now and a DM, so he can invert into that middle, and he is actually a very good passer back there. Because he's also a very good defender and he's not necessarily that tall, so you would put him out on that left back spot. I think that's why Arteta wanted him, the physical nature of being able to pass into the middle but also being able to defend, and that's why in the end he got Timber, because that's the player he wanted. But he had to live with Zinchenko for the first year to sort of cover the main thing that matters, him going into the middle and helping the double pivot. But now we've got people like Declan Rice, now we've got people like Kiwior and Timber who can also defend, and Ben White, who's obviously done brilliantly in that role. It doesn't really mean that Zinchenko's needed at the club anymore, and given his age and given his situation, you could definitely still get money for Zinchenko. And now I don't necessarily think Arsenal should be still getting rid of players, but there's going to be players start to get a bit unsettled because our team is a bit bigger and better a lot of places in the team now, rather than us just having one good team and then the bench being awful. And maybe you can still play Zinchenko if you wanted that added control and you didn't have to actually want to play Jorginho or Thomas Partey, who could be another great option if Jorginho's not available, against teams like when we played Luton at home. But considering Arsenal's last 10 games, the last 12 games of the season are pretty tough, and we've got a lot of hard fixtures in there, I wouldn't see Zinchenko playing in many of them. Arsenal need assured defenders in there, and people that are going to be very physical and very tall in stature to help us win them headers. We are a very big side with people like Kiwior on the team. So I think it's kind of just moved past Zinchenko, unfortunately, and that's not necessarily because the player's bad. I think the player is very good at the things that he is good at, but I think Arsenal don't necessarily want to play like that anymore. And it's a bit like the same situation with Kieran Tierney. I think Tierney's a great player, but he didn't suit our system, and he wants to overlap and be a crossing fullback, which is not what we want to do. But let me know what you guys think about Zinchenko. Let me know if you think he should still be in the team or have a chance. It'd be very good to gauge an opinion on this. And that leads me to say thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and if you like any of my videos, please yesterday go and watch my video where I did about Havertz being key against Bayern Munich. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one.